Let me start by saying that my writing and journalism career began on a manual typewriter. So this still boggles my mind a little bit that I am going to be teaching something on artificial intelligence. Let me get started here. Whoops. Beginners includes all of us on this topic. So let's just acknowledge here that none of us are as expert as we will be in 2 weeks, like Phil said, or at some point. So I'm going to go fairly fast here. I've got a lot of stuff to share with you. Please do not feel like you have to take notes on everything. At the end of this, I'm going to share a document that has all the links that I'm going to mention. So just kind of take it in and don't feel overwhelmed. I'm going to give you quite a lot of different possibilities that AI can do. And I know some of you are ahead of me on this. And if I'm ahead of you, it's only by a couple of days as I've prepared this. So we'll just proceed together as beginners. Here's I actually created this with AI, so it's a fun thing to start with. But if you bring up the subject of AI, artificial intelligence, to friends, people at your church, whatever, sometimes, often, the first response you'll get is, "That's scary," right? They see the some of what's been written or reported about it, and they think it's the end of the world. And it could be, but there's also just amazing opportunities surrounding AI. So I'm going to encourage us not to use the word scary when we talk about AI, but let's look at what we might be able to do with it in the context of our ministry work. So 2 weeks ago, I was at the Missional AI Summit, which is as the name implies, a mission-based group that talks about AI and the possibilities of it. I attended virtually. I didn't go. It was in Dallas. But this guy, Pat Gelsinger, who is head of a company called Glue right now, which some of you are using, I think, but he's the former CEO of Intel. So Pat Gelsinger is a Christian and involved in developing AI uses for ministry, but he's also basically the guy who invented the USB port and Wi-Fi and some amazing things that we all use. So this is a guy who's pretty important in the history of tech. And he says every technology has been building on the prior technology. AI will unquestionably be the biggest of these waves, more impactful even than the internet was. And I guess that's what I'd like to emphasize here, is that this is huge, and this is bigger than the internet was in terms of how it's going to change lives and change our work. So we really have to be paying attention and developing things with this, and not just deciding, oh, this is scary, I'm not going to touch this. So let's start with ChatGPT, since that's been maybe the most visible of the AI tools. And here's a definition of GPT. It stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer, type of AI model designed to generate human-like text based on input prompts utilizing a transformer architecture for natural language processing. So now we're clear, right? That just makes all kinds of sense. I can't make heads or tails of that. So I found a better definition by asking ChatGPT. And it says ChatGPT is a computer program that you can talk to, like a really smart robot friend that helps answer questions, tell stories, or explain things in a way that's easy to understand. That doesn't completely cover it, but it's a little bit better than that first thing that I couldn't tell you what any of that stuff means. It is, when I asked for that second definition, I said, explain ChatGPT as if I'm 10 years old. And sometimes you can do that sort of thing to simplify a response from that. Now, as I talk about ChatGPT, let's remember that there are many AI tools that are similar to that, and I'll be hitting some of those. But since a lot of us have started with ChatGPT, I'm going to talk about that predominantly at the beginning here. So this is what the opening screen of ChatGPT looks like. The stuff on the left is just chats that I've done, and it keeps a record of what you've tried. And it's a very simple screen. It just says, what can I help with? So that's where you could start asking questions or ask it to do something. Let me call your attention to the upper left there where it says Explore GPTs. If you've not looked too deeply into ChatGPT past that home screen, this is a good one to look at. And it's going to take you to a page that looks like this, and this scrolls down, and there's a lot of different tools that you can try. You'll see that some fairly familiar apps are using AI now, Expedia being one. Canva has an AI tool. There's different things, but you'll see one there called Video AI. There's a website generator, which I'll talk about in a second. PDF drive, I don't even know what that is. But again, if you're new to this, this is a place you could explore a little bit. So let me jump first to writing and editing. Again, this is not going to be comprehensive. There are many writing and editing tools in AI. I'm going to start with ChatGPT, and what I said here is write a 150-word article about why deaf people need sign language Bible translation as opposed to just reading the Bible. So I put that prompt in, and what's below there is what it spit out. It's about 150 words. It's pretty good. It really does explain the way we would explain it. So it's drawing on information that's been input to ChatGPT, or that, it's finding web articles, it's finding resources that would help write something like this. So we're very dependent in ChatGPT on what it's referencing. And you're going to see that that's a problem sometimes because we don't always have the best reference tools, and we're working on that problem. So let me switch to the next one here. So here's this is an article on the Alliance website about stewardship of Earth. And again, I wanted to take this and hang on, I'm having a little trouble with my PowerPoint. Summarize this article in 100 words. And this is another really interesting use for ChatGPT, where you would just copy that article, paste it into the prompt, and here's the summary that it gave me in 100 words. And again, pretty good, right? It's easy to understand. So that's another thing you can use ChatGPT for, is just summarizing text in however many words you want. And then I say, give me 5 suggestions for a headline of no more than 6 words. This is a use I find really good, is that you can ask it to write headlines on stories. I'm a career journalist, copy editor, headline writer, so even I find this very useful. I don't usually end up using what it suggests, but it gets me started. And usually I take a couple of these and combine them somehow and turn it into a headline. And if you don't like the first 5, you can say, give me 15 more, or give me 30 more or something, and it will do that. So, and it's almost instantaneous. That's the amazing thing about this, is how fast this happens. So again, there's some uses for ChatGPT in summarizing. Several of you mentioned to me in your emails that you're using Quillbot. So I wanted to put that in here as well and talk a little bit about that. It's another really interesting tool, and you'll see there's several things it'll do: paraphrasing, grammar checker, plagiarism checker, AI detector. So this is something that teachers are using to determine if their students are cheating by using AI, and the answer is probably yes, most of them are. But this is helping teachers to detect if AI has been used to write something. Not always, though. Sometimes, especially I find that for people who write for a living, they trip the AI detector because it's too good. So that can happen. Okay, here's Quillbot's screen. This is a paraphrase thing where I took a sentence there and asked it to, I think, shorten it down or simplify it or something. But there's different things you can do with that. So it's a nice little tool, very similar to ChatGPT. It's just a specialized tool for paraphrasing and writing. And here's something pretty good about Quillbot. If you're doing translation, this is that GPT thing I showed you before, the paragraph that it tries to explain what ChatGPT is. And I translated it to Bengali. And again, this takes less than 5 seconds. And notice up here, you can do 50 different languages in Quillbot. So that's really useful. I don't have any idea how accurate this is. I don't read Bengali, but it's something you can play with and see, is this a tool that could be useful? You'll see English and Spanish are kind of the main two. So if you're doing either of those languages, it's going to be pretty accurate. I don't know when you get down to, languages 48 through 50 that they've added, how good it is, but again, something to try. Okay, here's some sample prompts. We're back to ChatGPT again now. And these are on the document that I'm giving you, so don't worry about writing this down, but you're kind of just talking to it like a human, and in a minute I'll talk about how you can use voice with this, or you can type your prompts. But you're telling it it's an expert editor at first, and that kind of puts it in a mode of, okay, I'm editing, I'm not doing anything like trying to write original content here, I'm editing. So skilled at trimming content down without losing anything important. And then I say shorten this passage to around whatever many words, keeping all the key points in place and maintaining the existing tone of voice. After giving the shortened version of the text, state the before and after word count. I won't read through these other ones, but you'll just see that the more precisely you instruct ChatGPT to do something, the better your result's going to be. This is really about writing good prompts. All of this is. And what you'll see in a second here is it will help you write good prompts. So if you're not sure what to write, you can ask for help on that too. You can change tones of voice. You can say, I'd like this in language a 10-year-old could understand. You can even put it in different cultural contexts. So you could say, explain ChatGPT to someone who lives in Louisiana and in that sort of vernacular. So different ways you can use it. Here's some more. Explain a complicated concept in simple terms. So again, say you're a teacher, you're an expert teacher, and explain the concept of quantum physics, we'll say, in 500 words or less in a way that a 12-year-old can understand. You can write tests. You can say, ask me 10 questions about whatever subject, and then provide the answers. And this is kind of fun. If you have an article and you want to know if there's any quotes from famous people that you could include, you could say, are there any famous people who may have a quote that applies to topics in this article? And it will give you pretty good results. Again, it all depends on what you're referencing. And so ChatGPT does not have complete access to everything on the internet. I don't remember what the date it's updated to now, but it's not today. So if something happened overnight, it's not going to know about it yet. But it's pretty good for quotes and things like that. Proofreading, same thing. You can just ask it to proofread something and spot typos, spelling mistakes. Give me the same piece again with every typo highlighted in bold text. So you don't have to ask it to make the change. You can just say, show me all the changes you're suggesting, put them in bold or highlight them or something. And then you can decide. So it's basically doing the work of Microsoft Word or something where you would put in an article and it would give you the red underlinings for things it wasn't sure about. So again, interesting things to try with this. Let's talk a little bit about social media posts. I know a lot of you are using AI to create those. Let's just talk about some things you can do. First thing is less than social media, but it's about SEO, which is search engine optimization. If you post an article, you want people to find it, take the almost finished piece, put it into the prompt, and ask for suggestions on how to optimize the content for search engines. You'll find words and phrases you can strategically place into the article to help you get more visibility. I'm not a huge fan of keywords and putting words into articles for search optimization. I think that's my writer's bias saying I don't really want to manipulate text that way. But there are certain pieces where if you do want it to be found, it's a good tool to use. Social media suggestions, AI can help you create social media posts once the article is finished. You can ask it for suggestions with tweets, Facebook posts, anything like that that you can use to promote the article. So let me show you an example. This is Gwen's story that she wrote several months back from Bogota about the course language translation and the mission of God. And this is the beginning of the story. So it's this woman named Miriam who gets invited at the last minute to come to this course, and she talks about how much she loved it. So this is actually the story. So I plug that into ChatGPT and say, create 3 social media posts to promote this story. And so let me show you what it created. Again, I won't read these out loud, but you can just kind of see. Here's the first one. Notice that it not only gives you some text, it gives you the emojis, it gives you hashtags, and then it gives you a place to link to the full story. So it really does a pretty good job of this. And here's 2 more because I asked for 3. And remember, you could ask for 20 if you wanted. You can ask for any number of examples for it to give you. But again, it just gives you a pretty complete social media post that you can then copy and use in your social media. You can also create a social media schedule, which I wasn't aware of until recently, but you can create a schedule for over 1 month or whatever time frame you want, starting from, insert the date. How frequently do you want to post it? For each post, include the day it will be published, the headline, and it goes on and on. But you can create a whole campaign by just showing it an article and saying create a social media schedule or campaign from this. So there again, something to try. This is an interesting writing code or creating entire websites. If you're working on a website and you're stuck on a piece of code that you don't know how to do, you can ask AI to give you the code. So here I said, give me the HTML code for a contact form. And it says, sure, here's a simple and clean HTML contact form for you to use. And it gives me the HTML code that I need. Again, it depends on how well you instruct it, what you're going to get out of it. I was trying to move some video embeds around on a web page last week, and it didn't work as well for that because I couldn't get it to put them exactly where I wanted them. But if you just need a piece of code in a hurry, this is a great way to do that. I don't know code, so I'm always using this for some little piece like that, and it's easier than guessing sometimes. So I mentioned this earlier, website generator, that's within ChatGPT. You can actually create a full website within seconds. It's not great, but it's a starting point if you need to create a website and then be able to edit it. So this is not through OpenAI, which is the ChatGPT company, but it's B12 is the company. And so as soon as you do this, you're going to start getting their sales pitches. So I now get a daily email wondering why I'm not paying for the website I created, and I'm just going to delete those emails. But again, if you want to create something as a starting point, it does a decent job. So I said, create a website that catalogs project funding opportunities for the Wycliffe Global Alliance. Use this as a reference, and I gave our page that we have that on. Each project should have a page with a pie chart showing percentage of funding secured, and there should be a giving link for each project. And ChatGPT likes to be friendly, so it says, that sounds like a fantastic and impactful project. Could you share the name you'd like to use for this? Okay, so then I gave it a name, another description, and so this is the prompt I'm using to create a website, and here is what it created. And again, this is in maybe 30 seconds. It's not great, but again, it's a starting point. You can take this and then edit it, put your own pictures in, change, it gives you some page structure and things like that. And it's just, again, if you're looking for a starting point on building a website, it's something to try. Now, if you're looking closely, you'll notice there's some problems with this. Take a look at the hands. I've been having nightmares about these hands since I saw this picture. It's creepy looking, and for some reason, generative AI has trouble with hands and fingers, so you get a lot of this. So if you're going to be creating graphics, look carefully at hands, because you might be getting this weird swarmy thing going on. But again, I would be replacing this picture anyway, and it's just something that you can start with. Here's an inside page. It did create several pages. It created a page for each of our projects. These are just stock photos that are actually AI generated photos that you could then change out. But again, this was all created in about 30 seconds. And it's not a finished product at all, but it's a decent starting point. So again, if you need to create a specialized website for a project or for an event or something you could try. Let's talk about creating and editing images. This is the fun part. So we just published a story last week that Isaac from Cabtal wrote for us, and I worked with him on it, called Rethinking Bible Translation Consultancy. So this is the opening of the story, and we talk about basically a bottleneck, which is consulting. And the lack of consultants, or the shortage of consultants, is a bottleneck in Bible translation. So as I was thinking about bottlenecks, I thought about an hourglass. And so we started the story that all the grains need to fit through this tiny opening. So we kind of explained a bottleneck in visual terms. And then we thought, okay, we've now done that. So I asked ChatGPT, and here's a tip, by the way. Don't start with saying create an illustration. Start by saying, what's a good prompt for an illustration? Showing an old-time hourglass, the point being that people are trying to pull its tiny passageway wider. And so ChatGPT gave me this. And it's much more detailed than I gave it, and gave me a lot of stuff that I never would have thought of. So you can take that and you can edit that however you want. If there's something you don't like about this, or if there's a detail you want changed. But so it gives me this prompt, and then it says, how does that sound? Would you like me to create this illustration for you? And I said, sure, create that illustration for me. So here's the prompt I gave it. At this point, this is about 2 or 3 weeks ago, where it said create image. You could click on something in ChatGPT that said image creator. You don't even have to do that anymore. It changes every couple of weeks. So forget about that line, but just create an intricate illustration of a massive antique hourglass, and it goes on and on. I took most of what it gave me to say create that. And within, I'd say 30 seconds, I got this. This is really good. It's exactly what I was looking for. It's in fact more than what I was looking for. I didn't even think about all of this, but it gave me something very usable in about 30 seconds based on a prompt that it helped me generate. Now, what I forgot to say when I was asking for this was going to be the feature image on a web page, so it needed to be horizontal, 1920 by 1080 size. And I didn't really want to go back to ChatGPT and say change it, because I really like this. So I took it into Photoshop, and just did the generative cropping where you can add some stuff on the sides like this. And so that's what I turned up with. And here's how it turned out on the page. So again, a couple of minutes of work and you've got something that would have taken days in the past. Now, if you're a graphic illustrator, you're scared, right? Because this probably is going to either radically change your job or eliminate your job. I would fall on the side of radically changing your job, because I think there is going to be work for illustrators, but a lot of it's going to be working with AI in order to create things like this. And again, it really depends on what you're asking it for. If you're asking it, if you're giving it a bad prompt, you're not going to get the result that you hope for. But with a little bit of work, you can come up with something pretty good. Okay, so here's another one. I said a painting depicting a competitive eating contest in the style of Norman Rockwell. I was writing a blog post for my church. It was a devotional thing, and I don't remember why, but I was talking about competitive eating contests. I think it was about fasting. And it comes back and says, I couldn't generate the requested image due to content policy restrictions. So if you say you want it to give me a Norman Rockwell picture, it's not going to do that. Or if I want a Claude Monet picture, it's not going to do that. But if you go back and say the same thing, but in the style of American realism or in the style of impressionism or something like that, then it will do it. So you just can't, it starts to get worried about copyright when you're asking for a specific artist's style. So here's what it did. Again, maybe 30 seconds. It's pretty good. It does look like a Norman Rockwell painting. Even the fingers were okay in this one. I did check because I wanted to be sure people didn't have 9 fingers or something, but it did pretty well. And it gave me what I needed for a blog post in just a few seconds. One more on this. I said, help me develop a prompt. Again, I'm not asking for the illustration right away. I'm saying, help me with the prompt. To show a woman sitting alone in church, show her from the back so we can't see her face. She has long brown hair. And so it gives me this long prompt. And there's some really insightful stuff here, emphasizing her solitude. The atmosphere is serene and contemplative with flickering candlelight. I didn't ask for any of that. It just suggested that based on what I asked it. And then you can go back and again, adjust this a little bit. And then it says, would you like to add any additional details, such as specific clothing or lighting effects? And I said, yeah, have her wear a sweater. And so here's what we got. Again, it's pretty good. It looks like a photo. Some of the other ones I did look like illustrations. This is pretty photorealistic. And I used this in a blog post for my church. So the point being, you can create some pretty interesting things, and you just have to play with it a little bit and practice and see what it does. ChatGPT, the free version, lets you do, I think, 3 or 4 prompts per day with illustrations. So if I wanted to take this and then continue to refine it with 10 or 12 different new prompts, I would have to get the paid version. So it's another reason that if you're using the free version, which I'm guessing most of us are, you're going to want to ask for help with the prompts, because it refines that process so that you're getting something pretty close to what you want. This was the first try, and I ended up using this on the first try. I didn't revise it at all because I liked it. So you'll get better as you practice this. Okay, let's look at the ChatGPT screen again. This is the current version of it. It looks a little different than the one I showed you at the beginning, but there's 2 things I want to show you here. One is on the right, and that's the microphone and the voice prompt. Remember I said you can talk to this? You can actually pick different voices that it responds with. So let's see if you can hear this as I play it. I picked a voice called Monday, which is kind of hilarious, but I'll see if you can hear this.
Oh, good. You found me. Yay.
So you get this just really unhappy person, but most of the other ones are really upbeat and happy, and you can get different. I think there's a dozen different voices you can pick from as you have a conversation with it. And so that's another option. And especially the phone version of ChatGPT, you can talk with it rather than type to it, but also on the screen, the desktop version. The other thing would be this little thing, which is new in the last month, the plus sign. And what that means is you can upload your own picture to ChatGPT and have it work on it. So this is a big change and a big advantage for us if we need help with editing a picture or changing something. So let me show you a couple things you can do. Here's a picture of me. I said, add Ray-Ban sunglasses to this person's face and give him a neck tattoo of a dragon. I've always wondered about having a neck tattoo. Not really, Phil, but so in about, again, 30 to 45 seconds, here you go. The neck tattoo, okay, it's all right. It gave me the Ray-Ban sunglasses. Again, it does a pretty good job. So I took it a step further since I thought, why not? So I said, make this person 15 years younger. So there. It got rid of all my gray hair and some wrinkles, and even made my ears smaller and fixed my teeth. So all kinds of things going on with that. And you'll notice there at the bottom, it says you've reached your image creation limit. So that's after 2 or 3 prompts with the same picture. And that's where you have to start using the paid version, or you can try again after a certain time. Now, that's probably not going to help us much in our work to add neck tattoos to people. But what if you want to blur a face of someone who you don't want to identify in a picture and keep the rest of the photo clear? So I asked it to do that. That's Josh from Wycliffe, Japan, in the middle. And I made sure this was a person that we weren't violating security on to show this picture or to give it to ChatGPT. But okay, I said, create that blur. So here's what it did. The image has been successfully edited. Let me know if you need anything else. So if you want a very fast way to blur faces or something, it is a way to do it. Now, you're all thinking this, so let me just say this anyway. Do not give sensitive information to ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, or similar AI tools. They build their public knowledge bases from what users give them. So this picture would be a dangerous one if these were people we couldn't identify, because not only can you see faces, but they're all wearing name badges with their names. And that would probably be easy to identify. So be very careful if you're going to do this. But if it's someone who it's not a problem to put them into ChatGPT, then it is a way you can do that. And you can do other things with pictures, like isolate the subject from the background, things like that. But since we're on the subject, let me take a look at settings in ChatGPT and show you something that can help with security. And you'll go to settings, which is in your ChatGPT menu up on the right-hand side under your name, and see where it says improve the model for everyone at the top. And I've got that turned off. And here's the detail on that. When you have that on, that means it's saving everything you've uploaded to help train ChatGPT to make it better. But that also means that whatever you've uploaded is now part of that public database. We'll call it that. It's not really a database. But so if you are blurring pictures of somebody that you don't want to be in that ChatGPT knowledge base, you make sure that this is turned off. I still am not sure I would trust it with a sensitive image, but if this is kind of a thing where if you're doing a lot of Bible translation ministry work, you don't necessarily want it to become part of the ChatGPT knowledge base, I would turn this off anyway. It's just probably a good security step. And then there are some cases where we might want it to be part of that because we want it to learn, like deaf Bible translation, for instance. I would like for it to know those kinds of things. So that can be there. All right, let's talk a little about creating and editing video. This is going to be short, and I'm going to show you some tools that you can try on your own. It takes a little more time. Google AI Studio, which is under Google Labs. If you're using Chrome, you'll see that little beaker bottle up in the upper right, and that's what takes you to Google Labs. Gemini is Google's version of ChatGPT. Works very similarly. It's also free. But they have a video generator, which is up in the left, 3 down, video generator. And there's different versions of Gemini, which is their AI tool that you can use. Some are free, some you have to pay for. So from this upper right here, like this is Gemini 2.0, and you'll see input and output costs $0, which just means everything's free. If you look at some of the other options, you'll see you have to buy tokens, which cost not very much, but a little bit. And so you have different options. The better, newer iterations of these things do cost a little bit. So here's the generate video screen that you click on from Google AI Studio. And it, again, very similar to what some of the other AI agents look like, except now it's asking you, how many results do you want? I'm looking at the right-hand side here. Aspect ratio, so I'm going to pick 16:9 if this is a video. 9:16 would be a phone screen. Video duration, 8 seconds is what I've got here. Frame rate, resolution. So you can set all of that, and then you enter your prompt. Now, if you're like me, you're going to enter something strange. So I said, create a video of an elephant pole vaulting in the Olympics. Okay, here we go. Let's see if this video will run. It's an 8-second video of an elephant pole vaulting in the Olympics. And we don't get to see the landing, unfortunately. I should have made it 10 seconds so we could see the landing. Now, there is no pole, so this is more high jump than pole vault, I guess. But again, created in less than a minute. And, once I start refining this, I could do more with it. But it's pretty good. The detail is good. It's clearly at the Olympics. Clearly an elephant did not clear the bar there, so we know that elephants will not be competing in the Olympic pole vault anytime soon, at least according to this. Here's a couple other video generators. Again, these are in the links that I'm going to give you, so it's just stuff that you could take a look at. Hey Gen is one. This is one where you can create voice cloning, things like that, or you could create avatars that look like you to host videos, and you can also just create videos like I just showed you. So this is one to try. You can get started for free. It does cost when you start creating more videos, but it's an amazing tool. Another one is Opus Clip. And this is a tool that I believe you get 60 minutes per month on this. Maybe that's the next one. And the videos have a little watermark if you're using the free version. But again, you can create short videos. You can turn them into social media clips. There's different things you can try. And again, just another tool to play with. And one more on that. Riverside is another interesting one. You can create all this stuff that it shows there: video interviews, podcasts, social media clips. It does transcriptions. Several of these will do transcriptions, by the way. So if you're transcribing interviews or videos or anything like that, this is a really good tool to try. And several of these will do that. And you can start most of these products for free. So a few other tools you could try for free. I'll just run through these fast. Claude is one that I think is getting higher use in Europe than it is where I am in the US, but very similar to ChatGPT. There is a free version. And what I find with this, if you're using free versions, try them all. And if you're trying to generate an illustration, try it on different platforms and see which one you like the best. And that gives you a little bit more free options too. By the time that you exhaust the free options, you might have tried 3 or more on each of these platforms. But Claude is pretty good. It translates really well. I translated something into Portuguese with this last week, and it did very well. So that's one to try. DeepL is another translation one that I know our team has used. I believe it was used at the global gathering. 33 languages it'll do, but I would say the translation accuracy with DeepL is probably a little bit better than most of the other ones I've shown you here. But again, you can start a free trial with that, so see how you do. I took that deaf people, why do they need sign language translation? Why can't they just read the Bible? And I had it translated into Indonesian. It's really fast. Again, this took maybe 2 seconds and I got Indonesian. I don't know how accurate it is, but from our experience with DeepL, I think it's probably pretty good. So another one you can try. And then in Google Labs, here's some more stuff, and this scrolls down from here. So there's just a few things you can play with here. Video FX, image FX. You can search photos. There's games. There's all kinds of things that are just to be experimented with on Google Labs. So if you've not explored that page, this is your invitation to do that and just see what it'll do and what you might try. 11 Labs is another one. This is the one where you can create videos or audio. I guess it's audio mostly, but you can change the voice. So if you've got something that AI has generated, for instance, as a voice, and you want to change it to your voice, there's a way to do that. This would be the way to try it in voice cloning. You can see that there is tremendous potential for bad things to happen with things like this, and for people to clone the voice of a famous person and have it say all kinds of terrible things. So there is opportunity for evil with some of this too, but also some amazing things you can try. So there's 11 Labs. I want to camp on this one for a little bit. Notebook LM. This is a Google product. It's free. It's one of the most useful things I've found in AI. And it is a research assistant. So let me show you. Well, first of all, here's what it means. Notebook LM means it's powered by a language model. It's a tool from Google that helps users interact with their notes and documents using a language model, kind of like having an AI research assistant that can read and synthesize your notes, answer questions, and help generate ideas. So the first thing you'll see when you open a notebook or start a notebook in Notebook LM is this. It wants you to upload some sources, and look at all the things that you can upload to this as source material. You can do PDFs, you can do audio. This is aside from just text. You can do a Google Doc or Google Slides. You can do a whole website. You can do a YouTube video. And notice at the bottom there, it gives you up to 50 sources that you can add to this notebook. And so this is the beginning of my notebook from the Missional AI Summit that I mentioned a couple of weeks ago. So over there on the left, you can see stuff that I added to it. A Bible translation panel about AI. This is nothing. This was a mistake. But then I've got audio files from some of the speeches. And as I look at those audio files, if this isn't live, so I can't click on this here, but it will transcribe the audio from a video, from an audio file, and it'll give you a fairly clean translation. And then the middle section here, it will give you a summary of all your sources that you have checked here. And if you're looking for a research summary, it'll give you something short like that. It'll give you an audio overview if you want. And over here on the right, you'll see that it's got this audio overview. And basically what this does is create a podcast sounding audio file of your research. So let me play a bit of what I've got here.
It seems like every day there's some new mind-blowing thing happening with AI.
I know, right? It's everywhere.
Like seriously, everywhere you look, AI is popping up. And for those of us, trying to keep up.
Trying to make sense of it all.
Exactly, trying to make sense of it all. It can feel a bit overwhelming.
Totally overwhelming.
Like a full-time job just to understand what's going on.
Yeah, for sure.
And for you, the learner, that's why we do what we do.
We're going to break it down for you.
Yeah, we're going to break it all down, make it a little bit easier to digest. And today we're diving deep, really deep, into a fascinating area where AI is starting to make a real impact. We're talking about Bible translation.
Bible translation, that's right. We've got some great material for this deep dive.
Yeah, this one's going to be good.
And it goes on for 22 minutes. Now that's a completely AI generated audio file. So that's two voices. And the weakness here, if you call it a weakness, is that those are the only two voices you can pick for this. So anybody who's using this is going to have those same two voices. So these are going to be very familiar voices, I think, as people start trying this. But what if you took this and then fed it into one of those other pieces I showed you before, and you could change the voice to your voice, or you could change it to another, if you wanted a voice to sound Australian, or if you wanted to use a different language than English, you might be able to do that. This is limited to English right now, I think. So if you're generating an audio file, I believe that's only in English. But then look at the other things it'll do too. It'll do a study guide, FAQ, frequently asked questions. It can give you a timeline. So there's all this stuff that organizes your research. Now, how might this be useful? For me as a journalist, this is incredibly useful in putting a story together because I can put all my sources here, start transcribing the interviews, and then start looking for good quotes. I can ask it to summarize somebody's talk, and it's a good starting point. I would not probably make this my final product, of course, but it's a good starting point. All right, what is an AI agent? You're going to hear that term come up sometimes. And this says a software program that can interact with its environment, collect data, and use the data to perform self-determined tasks to meet predetermined goals. Okay, that's not easy to understand. How about this? A computer program that can think and make decisions on its own to do a job or solve a problem. It can look at what's happening around it, figure out what to do, and then take action, kind of like a robot or a smart helper that learns and acts by itself. Why would I want to create my own AI agent? And here's where this gets fascinating and the possibilities are endless. Using ChatGPT, it says here, it's like borrowing a super smart helper who can do a lot of things, but only in ways it was already trained to do. You can ask it questions or get help, but you can't really change how it works deep down. But creating your own AI agent is like building your own smart helper that does exactly what you want in your own way. Think about this in terms of Bible translation and scripture engagement and some of the scripture tools that are used in Bible translation. What if you could build an AI agent just for that process that would include the sources you want and not include a bunch of bad information that might take you in the wrong direction, but you could limit the knowledge to exactly what you want it to include? Suddenly, we've got something that's an amazing tool to accelerate Bible translation. So, just as an experiment, I took our Wycliffe Global Alliance style guide and brand guides and dumped those into a notebook LM. So I'm basically creating my own little AI agent here by doing this. And so now I've got all these sources, brand files, typefaces, acronym lists, things like that. I've shared this with all of you so you can take a look at this. But now I've got something instead of a style guide where I have to scroll down to the letter that I want to start with. Like, let's say I want to know the correct style for Jesus film. So I ask it that question, and here up pops the answer. Not only does it give me the answer, it gives me a footnote with the reference. So if I'm not sure about the answer, I can click on those, and it's going to take me to that entry in the style guide that will tell me this is right. So just sort of a fun way to try this. If you've got resource materials in your own organization or things that you rely on a lot that are either text or PDF or video, try throwing them into a Notebook LM document and seeing what sort of a AI agent you can build for yourself. If you really want to try something fun, this was a company that was present at the the Missional AI Summit, and this is a free starting point too, where this company called Chip will let you build a missional AI, and it starts with some reference material that's already built, which was one called the Biblical Scholar, for instance, the HR Assistant, different things. You can start with that and then add your own material and build something. So if you're interested in trying something like this and going beyond what Notebook LM would let you do, this is a good place to start. And again, to begin, it's free, and then the pricing starts when you start to build this out more. Okay, we're getting to the end. The worst thing we could do with all this is put our heads in the sand, right? It's changing the world quickly. It's changing ministry quickly. It's changing everything about our jobs quickly. So we don't want to just let this pass us by and say, this is too complicated. We're never going to do anything with this because the world will pass us by. And here's a quote that kind of reemphasizes that. In times of change, learners inherit the earth, while the learned find themselves beautifully equipped to deal with a world that no longer exists. That's the philosopher Eric Hoffer. So I just want to encourage you to experiment and try things with this and get familiar with using AI with different components of your work. A couple of quotes that I'll end with from the Missional AI Summit. If you have not already got an AI policy in your organization, it needs to be written today. If you have not got an AI training plan, it needs to start tomorrow. And that's with this guy, James Poulter, who was one of the better speakers at this. By the way, the document I'm giving you gives you the links to the Missional AI videos. So you'll be able to, if you want to see his talk in full, you can watch that. Oops. And then Pat Gelsinger, the guy I mentioned before, the former Intel CEO, ended with this: "Here I am, Lord, send me, send us, that we can be shaping technology as a force for good." And I created this AI image over here purposely with a human hand holding it, because we don't want to think of this as a tool that we have no control over that's going to start taking over the world. We control this, and we have the ability in ministry to control what we create in AI and use it for some amazing work. So again, the document with all these links is under wycliffe.net. And if you go over to resources and down to communication and scroll down a little bit on that page, you will see that document. And very soon we will be posting the video from this.